Welcome to the presentation for Chapter 1, Sports Management, Managing Sports. What is sports management? Sports management is a multidisciplinary field that integrates the sports industry and management. I'd first like to begin by telling you about the NASSM, North American Society for Sports Management. If you go to www.nassm.com, it'll help give you a better understanding of sports management. This is also the site where a lot of articles are published, the NASSM Journal of Sports Management, and it's a great resource throughout the course. The sports industry. Sports industry is much larger today than it was 30 years ago. Today, opportunity for work in professional sports leagues such as lacrosse, soccer, and a variety of different opportunities exists in the world of sports management. Apparel companies such as Under Armour have grown to compete with such traditional large companies such as Nike and Adidas. More career opportunities exist at the high school and collegiate levels of sport because of the increased number of students who are active in athletics. YMCAs, other fitness clubs also offer opportunities to work in various areas of the sports industry. As you see by this current slide, on a yearly basis, it's estimated that $350 to $400 billion are in the sports industry. Some examples of such careers in sports management: athletic directors, stadium, arena, and management, sports marketing agencies, players' agents, managing in professional leagues, sports manufacturers, recreational management, and sports broadcasting. What does it take to be a successful manager? Effective sports managers use their skills to conceptualize solutions and business strategies all the time. After all, this is what managers do. Traits of good managers and poor ones. Integrity, the ability to get along with other people are three of the most important traits to be successful managers. Other traits of people who succeed as managers include business knowledge, intelligence, leadership ability, education, sound judgment, ability to communicate, flexibility, and the ability to plan and set objectives. Performance. As sports managers, how are we viewed? How do we view our performance? Performance is a measure of how well managers achieve organizational objectives. These objectives can vary from organization to organization. The easiest one to measure performance is wins and losses in a sports organization or sports team, but that might not be the main objective of the organization. Management skills. Management skills include technical skills, people skills, communication skills, conceptual skills, and decision-making skills. All of these can be enhanced through experience. All of these can be learned on the job. Management skills consist of these: technical, people, communication, conceptual, and decision-making skills. Important traits. It's important to note that traits can be gained. Managers can come in with some of these, but these are just important traits through management and leadership positions that we've come to narrow down. There's 6 of them. Number 1 being the supervisor ability to supervise others, making sure that they can do their jobs. Need for occupational achievement. Motivation, what motivates you? Achieving in your occupation. Intelligence. Intelligence can be emotional intelligence. It can be intelligence in a particular field, but these are important traits that go along with managers. Decisiveness, ability to make a decision. In management positions, coaching positions, leadership positions, being decisive in your decisions is an important trait. Self-assurance, confidence, being confident in your ability to, hang on, go back to the next slide, confident in your ability to make those decisions. Confidence goes a long way. If you're not self-assured, confident, you're not going to be decisive. Intelligence is going to be a marker of self-assurance, and then need for achievement and ability to supervise. Initiative 2, having strong initiative starts with a vision. Those are long, goes a long way in being a manager, and they can be important traits. Again, these traits, you don't always come in with these traits. You can grow with them as managers, but these are identified as six traits that employers look for when hiring managers. What do sports managers do? Okay. What are we doing here? Sports managers, again, the sports industry is a wide variety of different occupations. There's obviously a lot of money in it, but most important, the management functions. Managers need to get the job done through others. How do we do that? They planning projects, planning missions, planning statements. They organize, they lead and control, achieve organizational objectives. So if you're a manager that gets hired for a particular organization, one of the first things you should do is understand what the objectives of that organization are. It's difficult to achieve those if you don't know what is your company's mission statement. Managers in all organizations, whether focused on sports or not, must use these 4 functions and get the job done. So again, what are the 4 functions? What do sports managers do? They plan, they organize, they lead, and control to achieve organizational objectives. It's also how we've broken down this course as well. Plan, organize, lead, and it's you learn by doing, by a lot of these things. We talked about the traits in the last slide, but we'll get into that as the chapter goes on. So what do sports managers do? Continuing that question, what are some non-management functions they do? So we lead from the top, we can supervise, we can organize, and we can plan, but there's going to be some non-management functions that we have to do as leaders. Myself can get caught up in doing too many of these non-management functions, which take us away from maybe being more of a supervisor or manager role. But it's important to understand that we can get our hands dirty, and there are times that we are going to need to do that. So sometimes managers do need to get involved in daily operations. We must help our people get the job done. So having an understanding of who is working for you, what their jobs are. Now, we're not asking you to perform those tasks for those individuals, but you do have to have an understanding of it, whether it's, my basis, as a coach and an administrator, performing those functions, then maybe help those middle management or other people get the job done. So it's managing is a responsibility, but also having the awareness or understanding that it does go a long way to help those below you perform those tasks and show that you are part of a team, supporting that team, and getting that job done. Management functions as a system. Managers need the ability to understand an organization or department as a whole. Understanding it's a system, that all the employees working below you, and other avenues, other organizations, you're all on the same team. So having an understanding as much Don't have to be experts on everything, but having an understanding of everything that goes on within your organization will help you lead that way. So as a business, to compete in a global marketplace, creative analysis and judgment, critical thinking needed to resolve conflicts and solve problems. Athletic directors need to understand their students, their personnel, the playing fields, transportation, nature of sports. List can go on, but you have an understanding that all the sports within the organizations, the institution, you all work together with that. You need to view the entire system as balanced and with all the different people that you are needed. So the unique thing is being an athletic director, you might have a background in baseball like myself. You'd have an understanding of the people in other sports. The nature of the sports is going to be different. The playing fields are going to be different. The contests are going to be different. And a lot of times we do get caught up in our own sport or our own nature, but growing that interest or knowing that will help you be an effective manager and goes a long way with that. So important understanding that management functions as a system, not a separate entity. Okay. What do managers do? From the slide there, managers wear different hats, many different hats. I myself, as a instructor and a coach, wear several different hats throughout the day. So from a management position, wear different hats. I must juggle being the leader, spokesman, monitor, but not to disrupt what our main focus is. Being able to balance this, it can be tricky at times. It takes a lot of organization. The leadership responsibility is great, but it's what we do. We don't just have one hat. It's a profession. It's a growing profession. And there's a lot of different roles. Again, leadership roles are the highest paying jobs that you can find on the market. So how do managers differ? So you can have different levels of management, and the three that we're specifically talking about are top, middle, and first line. These levels are also called strategic, tactical, and operational management. It should be mentioned that you don't just suddenly become top management, as many people seem to think. You don't just suddenly become the head coach, suddenly become the athletic director. So some people's paths are obviously going to be quicker than others, but it's important to understand as you move up of the responsibilities of those three, the first line, the middle, and the top, and how they all relate to each other. Most people have to work their way up by learning the different steps involved in managing can help you. So you must learn the steps involved to managing a sporting event before you can be the event manager, for example. So if you're an event manager but you don't know what the sporting event entails, tickets, risk management, facilitating the flow of the event, where the cash box goes. I mean, all those different things you have to learn before you can be in charge of the whole part. So just an important disclaimer. Again, everybody wants to lead. Leading's hard. As some of you that were athletes, as you go through, some are natural leaders. But when you're in charge and you're in charge of leading the team, it becomes very, very difficult. It's much easier to follow. Next slide, we show the top, middle, and first line and the primary skills needed for each. Let's start with the top, conceptual decision-making skills, planning and organizing, primary management functions performed. Middle, balance and skills, balance of all four. And then the last one, the first line, technical and people skills, and leading and controlling. So all three very different. You're going to go through all three at some point in leadership positions, but just understanding that as you get to the top, that's when the decision-making skills kick in. That's when the planning and organizing kicks in. And then as you're in the bottom, it's more technical, more hands-on, more understanding the parts, more dealing with the customers,
your, in quote, boots on the ground as you make your way up. So important to understand that those are all different as you work your way up. Now let's take a look at types of managers. There's three. There's general, functional, and project managers. So the general manager is where a lot of us are have an understanding with sports teams. General managers, professional teams have broad responsibilities. So they're often considered the top line. They're responsible for drafting, salaries, ticket sales, a variety of different things. So we often say that their team might have a majority owner. The general manager might be the second, but is the highest level of manager. General manager is also in charge of hiring a head coach for a lot of athletic teams. The athletic director might be, or director of athletics might be, a type of general manager within an NC2A institution. Functional managers are responsible for their specific area. So a functional manager of a professional sports team might include the head coach. He might be just responsible for just coaching the team. And then the project managers are responsible for the specific area within that they're coaching. So or leading. So again, like within a sports organization, you might have a pitching coach or an offensive coordinator. They are just responsible for that one specific area. Within an athletic department, you might have an associate AD in charge of sports media. Okay, they might be in charge of just that particular area. So just understanding those three: general, functional, and project types of managers. Skills related to management. So we have the top and the middle and the first line managers and the skills that associate with those. So the top level use conceptual and people skills more often than the lower level. Middle managers need to balance both the technical and people skills. And then the first line and the bottom really need to understand the product, the technical, that the I say that being able to break that product down into its parts. So the first line is you're really kind of the hands-on, and then the farther you go away is more hands-off. Management functions. Okay, those four in there: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Top managers emphasize planning and organization. It's their job to plot the course for the future. Middle managers, again, need to balance all four functions: planning, organizing, leading, controlling. And then the first line managers need the regular employees. So a manager at this level needs to be a good leader, yet maintain control. So those four: planning, organizing, leading, controlling, as you can see for the slide, all kind of go around management functions. And then, as we saw in previous slides, the management functions need to work as a system. Managing large and small businesses. Small business managers tend to work in an environment that's less formal in its planning. Small businesses will often have informal structures. So interesting, what a lot of times happens is the business structure of a small business then becomes successful, might grow into a larger one. It's going to need to adjust and adapt. Same thing with the management style of the leader, the general manager. So those things do need to change. So on the slide we have there, we have small, and then it kind of moves over to the big business, understanding that as a leader and in a management position that they are different. There's going to be a lot of similarities, but things are going to change. The differences between managing large and small businesses is one of the things that we're going to talk about again, and kind of the next slide when we get to is managing for profit, nonprofit, some of the similarities, some of the differences. NC2A, nonprofit. And it's a large nonprofit. There's going to be a lot of examples that we can give through it. NC2A people think is this big, vast governing body. It's actually very small. NC2A views the campuses as self-policing. So we'll discuss more of that versus a profit. A profit would be a professional sports organization. They're trying to turn a profit. So some of the most successful organizations as far as wins, losses, championships might not turn as big of a profit. Again, that kind of goes back to the organization goals and what, as the management, what are they looking to do? So just understand there is going to be a difference between big business, small business, for-profit, non-profit, as we go out throughout the semester. So, this concludes end of chapter 1, Intro to Sports Management.